Welcome into the Shawn Quinn Show right here on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel, glad to have you alongside on this Tuesday afternoon. Pleased to be joined, as always, by the head football coach of the Savannah State Tigers, Shawn Quinn. And, Coach, it has to feel good, man. We're talking about a home game at Ted Wright Stadium after you guys get a big victory. Just regardless of the outcome, regardless of the plays that were made, it's got to be good to be back to normal talking about a home football game.
Yeah, it is. It's good, especially after a win. But it's good to be able to sleep in our own beds and play here in front of our own fans. And, it was a limited crowd, but we had some folks there, which was great. And it was good to win. This was a good way to kick off the next phase here as we kind of wind this down here and get ready for the summer and the fall. So it was good to finally have a home game. And a bunch of folks wanted to get in the stadium and weren't able to. So hopefully next fall we'll be completely sold out and packed out and have it nice and loud. So a lot of fun.
And you guys took on Middle Georgia State this past Saturday. As I mentioned, it's been over 500 days since you guys played a home game. Did you guys have any trouble finding the sticks and getting the scoreboard kicked back on?
Oh yeah, that was it was like the old battleship that'd been in mothballs there for a little bit. Had the plant out. Actually, the scoreboard. We actually have the oldest scoreboard on the Eastern Seaboard right now. So we're primed for a new one. So they had to go find some parts, I think, from a 1920s movie set to get it to work, but we got it working. So all joking aside, the grounds crew, those folks did a great job getting everything ready for the game, and it was good to play at home, and looking forward to hopefully the next time we're at home. We've got some new turf. We're trying to hopefully get that soon, and we've got some stuff down the horizon for the facility. So hoping to get that done, but just glad to get a win and be able to enjoy a Saturday night at home.
Well, you mentioned it, Coach. You guys did get the win 85-0 there over Middle Georgia State. And just from the opening couple of drives, man, it was you guys just took off, never looked back from that point, 71-0 at halftime. But it wasn't just the offense scoring, right? You guys have to be happy, man, because you guys would have won if you just put the defense out there.
Yeah, it's good. We talked on Friday night about owning the ball, and that's old Pete Carroll philosophy from the Seahawks. You own the ball on offense and you get the ball back on defense. It's all about the ball. So use a little illustration with them Friday night, and obviously they took heart to that. So it was good to get some turnovers, and then a couple of those guys must have played on offense in high school, so they knew what to do when they got the ball in their hands. And they kept throwing, and I kept waiting for them to run it and get out of there, and they threw it a couple more times than I thought they would. I know if I'd have been on there, I ran the clock and got the heck out of Dodge. But it was good to get some scores, and played every single guy on the football team, Christian, which is great. Every guy that dressed that was on the sideline got to play, which is huge. So, but that was good.
Well, take us back to the beginning of the game, Coach, because I noticed just in the warm-ups, right, it was hot. I mean, that was something we hadn't seen in a while. I mean, it got into the 90s on Saturday. I was very well aware of it, standing out there just baking on the sideline. Made the rookie mistake of not wearing any long sleeves out there. All the coaches on the sideline, you guys long sleeve, long pants. I'm standing out there watching my forearms just get cooked up. But it was a hot one out there. But just from the jump, the intensity from your guys was just at an all-time high level. And I have to think that has to do with the fact that they were playing a home game for the first time in a long time. But I'm sure you saw the same thing, right? Just a spring in their step, even in the warm-up.
Yeah, I think they were excited just to get the bad taste out of their mouth from the loss 2 weeks before and just, get to play at home. And it was nice and hot. And I had the SPF 70 going, so you could have borrowed some from me. But it was good. I was really – They had good energy, and from the get-go, they were ready to go. And so, the big challenge is when you're playing somebody that you're supposed to beat is playing at a high level. And for the most part, we did. And there was times we kind of had some lulls in there. But, I thought they had good energy. It was nice and warm, which we wanted to kind of get a game in the heat and get a good sweat, and got that more than then some on Saturday.
Well, you said this, that and specifically Savannah State has been on the other side of this before, right? You think about the Miami games in the past, right? You've been on the other side of this before. It's got to feel a little bit better to be on the other side of it, but I do know that it brings its own unique challenges, right? I think back to Nick Saban and the bleep through a tin horn press conference that he had, where it's you're quote-unquote playing someone that's lesser than you. It still brings its own set of unique challenges.
It does. And, here's the thing. You respect every opponent, whether they're Alabama or they're, Alaska State. You have to respect your opponent. They put their pads on, they practice, they do. And so we try to always do that. Obviously, I'd much rather be on the other side of it. And at halftime, I kind of ripped them and said, hey, we that Miami treat. Remember how it was? We were down a bunch to Miami. It was 4th and 26, and Mark Rick went for it. I didn't say nice things to him after that play. We stopped him, but they were up by a bunch, and so we remember that. We had a bunch of guys in that locker room that had to go through that. So, the biggest thing I challenge them is no matter who's in here, we're not calling the dogs off. And we shortened the quarters and did a couple things, but just as far as expect you to play hard and all the way through the end of the game, and for the most part they do.
And I do want to get into some players specifically, but here in the first segment, we'll just talk about the team as a whole. I mentioned it. You guys pretty much unstoppable on offense, running the football, got the ball to a bunch of different running backs. Defense, you guys scored with pick sixes, also able to recover a few fumbles there as well. And then you guys score with a punt block on special teams as well. As a head coach, scoring in all three phases of the game has pretty much got to be the dream.
Yeah, it is. We talk about if you score on defense or special teams, it's about an 80 to 85% chance you're going to win a football game. And so that definitely held true and played pretty good on those sides. And anytime you get a shutout, that's a good thing. And a block of kick's always a good thing. So, again, you and I have talked at length. It's good because we got so many freshmen and new players an opportunity to play and see how they react under the lights. So in this case, under the blazing sun. And it was good just to see them go out and compete and do some good stuff.
And one thing I did notice, and I think people, when they get out and watch you guys play in the fall, will notice, and I'm sure this is something you guys identify in recruiting, you guys are tall and you guys are long, and not just at the wide receiver position, right? Not just at the quarterback or DB position, all the way across the board, guys 6'3", 6'4", with long arms out there at every single spot.
Well, you try to recruit guys that are physical, and play a physical style a little different. We always have a saying, big people beat up little people. No offense to anybody, but always was fortunate to be at places like Alabama and Clemson. I wasn't at Clemson, but Alabama, Tennessee. And when you play those people, man, they just come out and physically get after you. And so we've got a lot of good talent in this area. We've been able to get some good skill players. And like I said, a lot of folks know we have normally 10 to 12 defensive linemen that are scholarship to play in a game. We only played one in this game. So we had 11 guys not even dressed. So, the biggest thing is getting length and size and getting bigger, stronger. But, there's a lot of good local players that you probably saw out there that have some good size to them. And we've tried to get bigger and faster through recruiting.
And we'll dive into some of the performances coming up in the next segment. But one moment, Coach, I wanted to talk about, which I thought was probably the coolest, and I was talking to a couple of the other media members from Savannah when we were standing on the sideline watching number 55, Kyle Frazier, run out there for his first ever collegiate home football game. That had to be pretty cool for you as a guy who's been with him pretty much step by step throughout his entire journey, battling cancer, defeating it, and then getting back on the football field.
Definitely, and more so I was happy for his mother who'd been there with him, basically going to the treatments every day with him, and to see her there and how happy and proud she was of him. And man, he's playing with house money at this point. It's like he's been to the casino and already won, beat cancer, and he's an awesome guy for us. Here's the thing. He might be our best offensive guard we got, and we played him at defensive tackle because of some injuries, and he would have started the game at guard, and we just unselfishly went over there and played defensive tackle. But, man, what a testimony to toughness and hard work. And he's been through more than most people go through an entire lifetime in a year and a half. So I got to give him a lot of credit, and whatever he puts his mind to, he's going to be successful.
And also playing one of the least spoke about positions, but one of the more important positions, he's playing sort of that end on the field goal units too. That's you got to eat a lot playing that position. So that takes a certain kind of guy to play that spot.
Oh yeah, because we, as a former defensive coach, generally that's our opportunity to take out on those guys that have been cutting you all day, and so you tend to get after them pretty good. And when you're in that, you're kind of in a no man's land, and you're basically cannon fodder for the defense on field goal block.
But really cool to see Kyle out there. And then, of course, now Savannah State getting ready to move towards summer and then get ready for fall, and hopefully what's going to be a full fall season and with a chance to compete for the playoffs and postseason for the Savannah State Tigers coming up in the fall. We'll dive into that in a little bit. When we come back, I want to dive into some of the specific performances from that big 85-0 win on Saturday. This is Christian Gokel alongside Shawn Quinn on The Shawn Quinn Show on ESPN Radio. Welcome back into the Shawn Quinn Show on ESPN Radio. Christian Gokel, glad to have you alongside here on this Tuesday afternoon. And pleased to be joined, as always, by the head football coach of the Savannah State Tigers, Shawn Quinn. And, Coach, we were talking in the last segment about the big, tall guys you have out there, and there's a lot of them. But I want to start with one of the 6 feet and under gang, Quavian Bell from Blackshear, Georgia, right? When I saw him play in high school, he was just kind of a do-it-all athlete, running back, safety, linebacker, would line up at quarterback in their heavy formations. When their offense stopped working, they just gave him the ball and they said, go. And he pretty much did it every single time they needed him to do it. If you know about Pierce County football, it's a really highly successful program. Well, now he's wearing number 43, and I saw him on offense kicking out, playing a little tight end for you guys. That was just awesome.
Yeah, he's like a fullback, tight end-ish. He's a great guy. They call him Do It. That's actually his nickname. And, we moved him over there. We've had a bunch of injuries at tight end. Julian Roberts, our starting tight end from Memorial, was out in this game with an injury. And we've signed 4 guys coming in. So I told him this is opportunity, and he took advantage of it. And he's a good football player. He's just one of those guys who try to recruit bigger, faster, and stronger, and he kind of doesn't fit the mold. But he does good stuff on game day. And like you said, Pierce County, that's great football. Winning tradition down there, and anytime you get a bunch of guys used to winning and being competitive like they are down there, it's going to help your football team.
You must have just left him at coach's corner the entire offseason, because when I saw him, just kind of a sleek dude, he'd hit you, but he was sleek running back. That was a bowling ball out there.
Yeah, he's like me. He doesn't mind the buffet line at all. So we joked about it. We both like to eat. We're both foodies, but Quay's a great guy, and he's an interesting character to say the least, but a really good teammate. Going to be a good football player for us.
Another of those guys you kind of notice when he gets off the bus, Jaylen Thompson, outside linebacker, kind of a stand-up defensive end for you guys, number 40 out there, Coach. Just his length and size, he looks like what you see a lot of NFL defenses lining up at their outside linebacker spot.
He is, man. He's a tremendous talent. Interestingly enough, Ron Hudson, who was the offensive line coach at Georgia Southern for the last couple of years, did a great job over there. He was recruiting Bluffton and mentioned him to me when I was getting ready to go over there, and went in there and saw him. I said, man, we got to find this guy and get him on our football team. And he's been awesome. He's been a pleasure. And, he played linebacker, and that conversion of defensive end's been kind of a struggle. But, man, he's really blossomed this spring. Again, we've had a bunch of defensive linemen injured and out, so he's got a ton of reps. And I think in the fall that'll pay dividends. But he's got a frame. He can run, and he's only a redshirt freshman, so he's got a bunch of upside to him.
And, Coach, on the offensive side of the ball, of course, it starts with D'Angelo Durham. He's the running back, and he's going to be the focal point. But you guys got up big, and like you said, you were able to get a lot of folks in there in the first quarter. A guy like Jordan Grant from Savannah Christian, and then Amin Stevens, a guy originally from Jenkins High School, transfers in from Lenore Ryan. That's a pretty deep position for you guys, because both of those guys dynamic with the ball in their hands. And I think right now, 5-6 deep right now at that running back position?
We got some guys, and we're fortunate, obviously you're an injury away from not having a whole lot of depth, but we signed DJ Mincy, who's a really tremendous back out of Toones County, and then Trenton Johnson out of McIntosh, a big-time running back. So those 2 guys are coming in also. So Jordan Grant's done a great job. Amin did a nice job. D'Angelo was actually out, didn't even play with an injury from the West Alabama game. And then we've got a couple other guys that have done a really nice job. Shamarcus Poole's a freshman from Washington County. So I think we got a chance to be pretty good. And you know what? When you run the football, you better have a stable of those guys, because they're going to play a bunch of snaps and they're all going to carry the ball a bunch. And, you and I have talked collectively in a season, if you have any aspirations of being in the playoffs, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You better have enough guys that can carry the ball throughout the year for you. Well,
a guy you got the ball to a bunch of different ways, Carter there, he returned punts. You gave it to him from the slot back position. He lined up and even took some handoffs as well. Is he just a guy that you're going to try to just rotate around and try to find different ways with Coach DeMasi just to get him the ball?
Yeah, he's a really good football player. Was a freshman of the year in this league last year. And, he gets the ball in his hand. You kind of stand up. Everybody pays attention. He's like E.F. Hutton. You don't know what's going to happen. He may score. And so we're just trying to find creative ways to give him the ball, because he can play receiver, back. He can be quarterback in the Wildcat. He's a returner. And he and I have talked at length just trying to find different ways to get the ball in his hands, because he's a kind of a game breaker for us. And the back end of last year, he actually beat a senior out and really changed our offense for us for the better.
I know we talk about him a lot, man, but Walter Grant, your inside linebacker, kind of the captain of your defense right there. Obviously, he's a heck of a player, but I kind of noticed a difference with him just running out on the field on Saturday. Seems like he's really taken to being the leader and kind of the emotional body of this defense.
He's done a good job. He came to me and just said, I'm ready to kind of try to take this thing by the horns and run it. And, good football teams, Christian, have, obviously good coaching and good plays and all that, but they're player-led. And, he's taken this thing and ran with it. He's been a really good player, started as a freshman here. This is his third year as a starter, and just done a really nice job. I think he's as good a player in our league, and I appreciate him doing that. It makes you a better coach when guys like that want to lead and work and show the other guys how to do it, and the guys respect him.
For sure. And then, Coach, the quarterback position, obviously able to play a bunch of different guys. What did you see out of your starter, Devon Gibbons, in this one? I thought he did a good job distributing the ball where it needed to go. I know Coach DeMasi wasn't overly happy. A lot of penalties, some of them earned, maybe some of them it was the ref's first game in a while as well. But outside of the procedure stuff, I thought when the plays were in action, he did a good job getting the ball where it needed to go.
I thought both sides of the ball, we were sloppy at times a little bit with some pass interferences and some false starts on offense. I thought Devon had a really nice spring. I thought he came back and really practiced well and played well, led well, and has been just a enjoyable guy to have around. Going into the fall, we still have a battle in hand. I thought he played well. Thought JT Hardage did some good things, and then Mason Wood came in and actually even played a local guy, Cole Donahue from Islands, and Antonio McKnight, a true freshman. So got 5 guys in there, but Devon's been the guy, kind of the leader of that group, and so it'll be interesting to see kind of how it goes moving forward. And he was our starter in 19. He's done a really nice job since I've been here.
And I don't want to get a call from Coach Baker saying we didn't talk about the offensive line. Some freshmen starting for you guys at really important positions, Coach, and I think you guys are going to run out of syrup bottles because there were a few pancakes out there.
Yeah, we started Ryan Adams, a freshman from Vidalia, at center, and he just did a really nice job for us. We got a bunch of young guys. Stephen Wakefield from the Athens area played a ton. We played every offensive line. We're down some guys right now with injuries and being redshirted and some other stuff. So we've dressed 11 linemen, offensive linemen, played all 11, which is awesome to be able to do. And then we got a couple guys banged up. So, but we did play a lot of young guys. And I keep saying this to you and to everybody to listen, all those snaps for these true freshmen will pay dividends in the fall, because when they get in those bigger games with the bigger opponents, that you'll have the experience of playing. And there's something to be said for that.
I was going to ask, Connor Vasher did go out in the first half, and we didn't see him back in the game. Can you update us at all on what's going on?
Just an ankle injury, and frankly, he played outstanding at West Alabama. We got the lead, and we didn't want to risk him getting hurt where there was any long-term. We still potentially have another game, and I just felt like once the lead was in hand, some of those guys we needed to rest. There was little doubt after a quarter that we're going to win the football game, so I wanted to be smart and get everybody in the game. And some of those guys were pretty beat up from. It's been a long couple months, and like I said, we're down on numbers, and so some guys will take a lot of snaps. And you want to be smart as a coach and not lose a guy to something silly when you preserve him for the long haul.
Anybody else stand out to you on Saturday, Coach?
I thought the kickers kicked really good.
There it is.
There we go. Those local guys. We got Claxton and Bradwell Institute, and I thought we snapped well. And that's really important. Underutilized, I guess, under talked about phase of the game is being good on special teams, and that's encouraging for me because those guys are going to have to make some plays in the fall in a close ball game for us to win. And every time they kick, every time they snap, every time they go through that, they just get that much more experience. So in the fall, they're that much more prepared. And our 2 kickers, Kenneth Lockhart from Bradwell down the road, and then Jorge Gonzalez from Claxton, man, they just did a really nice job. And then Braxton Chadwick, a long snapper, whose dad's the headmaster over at Calvary, he did a really nice job for us. So really excited about those guys, and we got a really good long snapper coming in, so we ought to have a really good group in the fall.
And we got to take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll dive into what is coming up next for the Savannah State Tigers as they get ready for the fall 2021 season. We'll be right back right here on ESPN Radio. Final segment here on the Shawn Quinn Show. And, Coach, going back to the previous segment there, we were talking about the kickers, and I noticed you guys got a lot of work on the kickoff unit. Specifically the guys having a rundown and cover. And you mentioned the kickers did a good job, a lot of touchbacks for you guys there, especially in the second half. And I noticed the coaches yelling at everybody on the coverage team, run all the way through the goal line. And so it kind of became a race for the guys on the kickoff unit. What was that about?
Well, it started at LSU. And then when I was at Tennessee Tech, we had a saying, buzz the tower, which was the end zone tower. You want to make sure on film when people watch you play on kickoff, how hard you cover on special teams. And again, the big challenge was us in the second half, don't drop down a level of intensity or enthusiasm. So you just want your film is your resume. When opponents watch you, they want to see you play hard. It sends a message. There's a little bit of Jedi,
Gotcha.
Phil Jackson Zen Master stuff going on here in my mind. So I want to send a message to everybody we play that our guys play hard. and they're like, oh crap, look at these guys and how hard they cover. And it sends a message to your opponent that you're playing that day, and also future opponents. And you want to send a message, hey man, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. And if they're not sprinting, I'm not happy.
I think if you add it all up, those kickoff cover guys probably ran a marathon on Saturday. So they're probably
it's a good problem. I played at Carson Newman, and they told me a story, a legend, that they played Furman one year, and Furman beat them so bad that the Paladin horse had heart palpitations from running back and forth. So we had Tony the Tiger in the cage, but he seemed like he was doing okay. It looked like he was having a couple of Gatorades over there. So it's a good problem to have. Trust me, I've been on the other end of it, and I want to be on that end of it as much as I can.
Well, Coach, what's next? I know this just kind of a season you guys had to put together, a lot of hard work from your staff, a lot of hard work from the athletic department, just getting these 2 games played. But now, unless something else comes up, getting ready for 2021. What's coming up next for you guys?
Well, interesting you said that. Literally about an hour ago, I got a 1AA that called us and wanted to play this weekend. We politely declined. Just we're a little bit banged up right now, and we may scrimmage one more team here in 2 weeks in inter-squad. But this week, what we're going to do is just focus in on the weight room and conditioning and just getting bigger, stronger, because we have very few seniors. I think we got 8 seniors. So the majority of our team's freshmen and sophomores still. So we want to spend a bunch of time in the weight room getting ready with those guys, and then really concentrate on the books, because we've got about a little over a month left of school and then going to finals. So and then, we'll get out and we'll do skill work, and we'll do some 7-on-7 and get some wall work, and just keep working on the basics. And, we still got to hire a staff. We're still short 3 coaches, and got to get that done. And so we got a lot of stuff to do. We got to reorder equipment, get ready for the fall. We've already started on Valdosta State. And again, we may scrimmage one more team, and we'll kind of gauge that at the end of next week, how we are injury-wise, to see. And that's been the nice thing with this, is giving you some latitude to play other people and do some stuff. And I will give a lot of other conferences credit. The SAC 8 and the Gulf South, they've been great about trying to play games and do stuff. And it's been a challenge within our own league with some rules. But everybody, it's been fun to get opportunity to play and compete. And we'll see where this thing goes the next couple of weeks.
So I guess when you stack it up, you guys kind of finishing this season where you would typically be finishing the spring ball, right?
Yeah, about right now.
I think just a week or so ago was where you guys had your spring practice or your spring game back in March of 2020. So really not too far off a typical timeline in terms of getting ready for the fall.
Yeah, you like to have about a month and a half. What was frustrating for me is I felt like when we got in the fall, man, we were really primed to have a really good season. And we had a pretty, as loaded a team from a talent standpoint. And, obviously take some hits with injuries and other things. So we're kind of recalibrate, and we've got to make some decisions on some guys. We've got some transfers that want to come, and what we do, and if we sign anybody else. And kind of right now, the biggest thing I got to work on is the chemistry of the football team. And I think we got an idea of the guys we signed, what they can do, and now we can kind of mix this all together and come up with hopefully a good group of guys for next fall. And we've got a lot of work to do, because the teams we're going to play, they aren't going to give us any free passes next fall.
Absolutely. Coach Shawn Quinn, kind enough to join us here on the program. Coach, we always appreciate it, man. It was good to see you back in action on Saturday on the sideline getting after it, man. It's always good. And I noticed you're not the guy who comes out there to congratulate the offense, but you will come out there and slap hands with some kickers after they hit the PATs. Hey, man, those guys, you got to know that mojo with them, man. They're their own little world. So I started watching all these, all in deals on Prime with all these English soccer teams, Tottenham and Manchester. I'm Pep LaGuardia now, or whatever, our Jose Marino. So I'm just trying to learn how to deal with those guys, because they come from, most of our kickers have a soccer background, and just great sport, and they have a little different mindset sometimes. But our guys are studs. I enjoy being around our kickers. Well, we might need you to take over the men's national team, because now we've missed the old Olympics for another year. And I hear the optics of that one's not so good. Yeah, no, it's pretty painful. As Taylor Twellman said, it's embarrassing and laughable that the United States is missing the Olympics. But there you go. Just where you come for Soccer Talk is the Shawn Quinn Show here on ESPN Radio. Coach, we got to go. We appreciate it, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Go Tigers. We'll talk soon. Thanks, brother.